Agnes Water in central Queensland is an unspoiled spot at the edge of the barrier reef, surrounded by bushland. Fran McCarthy bought here 20 years ago, 4 acres for $35,000.
Here is my little house here. It is beautiful.
The property is now valued at $500,000, but it's no longer hers.
It all just happened before I knew it.
Queensland's Public Trustee, which takes control of people's finances if they're found to lack capacity, sold it against her wishes more than 10 years ago.
I don't understand why they did it when they didn't need to. It's not like I didn't have money, and I did have the... I told them what to do, what the bank and I had worked out.
Fran now calls a tiny town outside Bundaberg home. She lives in a modular house she bought second-hand on Facebook for $15,000. She says Queensland's Public Trustee managed her finances so badly that it's all she can afford.
They don't care. They care about themselves. They care about how much money they're making.
In most of the country, it's illegal to identify anyone who's under public guardians or trustees. Last month, we took legal action and won the right to name Fran McCarthy and tell her story. In 2010, Fran had a breakdown after losing her job. A mental health nurse advised her to let Queensland's Public Trustee take control of her finances to save her house.
I thought they were going to help me. It's pretty daunting when you're in this massive depressive state to sit down and fill out a 20-page application. So I just thought, great, I won't have to worry. I didn't know that they were going to destroy my life.
After the Public Trustee sold her house, Fran had no control over her bank accounts and super funds. Over most of her 10 years with the Public Trustee, it took fees of up to $120 a week, while Fran received just $100 a week as a living allowance. Could you live on $100 a week?
Nobody can live on $100 a week. It was horrible.
The fees made up a quarter of Fran's pension and pushed her into so much debt that the Public Trustee took more than $27,000 from her super funds to pay it.
They were happy to charge me the fees and charges, but they weren't going to give me any money at all. Like for clothes, for shoes, for underwear once I had to beg them. I would go that side on the back wall.
No, that'd make the place look too small.
You think it's too dark?
No, I like it better than the green.
Fran's sister Kerry saw her mental health deteriorate.
She's diabetic too, and she's had a stroke. So she's got medication she's got to take. And with $100 a week, what do? Food or medicines? I do remember her ringing up at Christmas time once and asking for $100 for Christmas, and they said no.
How many times did you complain about the fees you were being charged?
I would complain about once every 3 months.
When Fran had her hearing in 2010, the Public Trustee told the tribunal her fees would be about $8 a month. Instead, she was charged almost $500 a month.
So what date was it that you...
When Fran complained, the Public Trustee's then CEO said he had no record of the $8 charge, so Fran wrote to Queensland's Ombudsman.
So what was the Ombudsman's response to you?
The Ombudsman responded that they would not do an investigation, that the Public Trustee had not done anything wrong.
And what did you think about that?
I thought that was pretty crap. I thought that they should have investigated. It was as easy as getting the transcript from the hearing.
Instead, it was left to Fran to get the transcript. It confirmed the Public Trustee had quoted fees of about $8 a month or so at the very most. The public trustee apologised, saying it was regrettable we did not obtain a copy of the transcript when Fran first complained, and although it was entitled to charge the fees, it would refund the money as a gesture of goodwill. Fran received a refund of more than $48,000. In 2019, Fran went back to the tribunal and, with the support of a community health service, had the public trustee removed. She's now suing the public trustee for financial and psychological damages. Queensland's public trustee didn't want to do an interview and wouldn't answer questions about Fran's case, citing confidentiality.
They don't care. They care about themselves. They care about how much money they're making.
In the past 2 years, public trustees around the country have been accused of exploiting people with cognitive disabilities by charging them unreasonable fees. In New South Wales, the Auditor-General called its fee system inequitable, saying there is a risk that some fee-paying clients are unknowingly subsidising others. WA's Auditor-General said its trustees' incentive to maximise fees is not appropriate. And a Queensland Public Advocate report found that for some clients, the public trustees' commitment to self-funding and sustainability has been achieved at the expense of their own financial outcomes. The Uniting Church in Queensland made its own submission, calling on the government to fund the agency rather than requiring it to charge fees.
I think this is a massive human rights issue. I think that this is when the Queensland government needs to step in and honour its own obligations under the Human Rights Charter.
Reverend Gunton says the church tries to help clients of the public trustee, but it's difficult.
They simply don't know why fees and charges have been charged, but find that they can't get answers because the public trustee really doesn't have to have any kind of public accountability. They can't speak out against the public trustee if they feel there's been some irregularities or even an injustice in accessing their money.
The gag laws even stop former clients of trustees from being identified. Yuli Cartwright has overcome massive challenges, including mental, physical and intellectual disabilities. 7 years ago, and without his knowledge, a disability worker applied to the Victorian Tribunal to put state trustees in control of his money.
The worker filled out a VCAT medical report saying that I couldn't make financial decisions.
Yuli, who receives all his nutrition by tube, invited a filmmaker in to document his life.
On the menu today is the same thing that I've had for breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert for the last 23 years. So let's go.
Part of the film included Yuli going to the Victorian Tribunal and having the state trustees removed.
The order is revoked. 4 words. Better than I love you. This might not look like a big deal, but for me, regaining my control of my finances is a turning point to having an independent life.
Weeks after the film was released on SBS, the Victorian Tribunal wrote to remind the broadcaster of restrictions on identifying people under state trustees. Yuli's film was taken off the internet. Did you know it was a criminal offence to identify yourself?
Nope. Not at all. I was angry. I was annoyed. Very annoyed. I was very passionate and very adamant to get this movie back online. Not for myself, but first and foremost for people with disability that could, use this.
Yuli Cartwright went back to the tribunal and successfully had his gag orders lifted, meaning he can now be identified.
Hello?
His film is back online and he's now campaigning to change the laws around the country so people under public guardians and trustees can be named and tell their stories.
One of the human rights is freedom of expression. That's, in its sense, in jeopardy. This whole thing about protecting the most vulnerable in Australia to walk alongside and have the same rights as you. How are they going to do that if I can't speak about it?
We requested interviews with every public guardian and trustee in the country. All declined, except for one, the head of Victoria's Guardians, Public Advocate Colleen Pearce. She's calling for the gag laws to be lifted nationally as a matter of human rights.
It's a fundamental human right for people to be able to tell their own story, and it's my very strong view that everybody has a right to a voice and everybody has a right to be heard. And why should that be any different for people with a disability who are under guardianship?
Victoria's Attorney-General Jacqueline Symes said she's asked her department to review the legislation.
How quickly would you like to see it change?
I'd like it to see it changed as soon as practical. All too often, the issues faced by people with a disability are not considered a priority.
The push to change the gag laws is gaining momentum. If reform does happen, public trustees will likely face even greater pressure over how they treat some of our most vulnerable Australians.
They're not protecting anybody. They're protecting themselves and their income. They are not a community service. They're a money-making machine.